Back. I know I haven't done a video in a long time, and I do apologize in advance. I don't have my usual mic. I don't know where I placed it. But anyway, I wanted to do a just review on a fragrance that I've been looking forward to, like really looking forward to ever since it was first announced. And that is the newest release from Armani, and that is Acqua de Joe Eau de Parfum. So this is Edp Concentration. As many of you know, the original Acqua de Joe Pour Homme is the #1 best-selling men's fragrance of all time. I believe it still is now, currently. This was huge when it came out. This was just, it's similar to what Aventus is now, but I think even more so in the sense that this was a lot more attainable. Now there's a million different, knockoffs and clones of Aventus inspired by that are more affordable, more attainable for the everyday person, but this was very affordable, very well received. I know I wore it as a signature scent all throughout high school. Even the early years of college, I was still wearing this. This was my only fragrance I'd really wear. And my brother, same thing. He wore it all the time. I think a lot of people kind of over the years got burnt out, kind of got sick of smelling it. And I get that. It certainly smells dated now, I think, because we're also used to smelling it. And so many people were wearing it. So I don't really wear this anymore. This isn't the bottle, obviously, I had back then, but I don't really wear Acqua de Joe Pour Homme. That said, I still love the line. I love the DNA. Since then, they've come out with a ton of flankers. You have, Profondo. You have Profondo Lights, which is a flanker of a flanker. You have Absolute. You have Profumo. You have Absolute Instinct, which is another flanker of a flanker. And now you have Eau de Parfum. Oh, and you have Senza. So there's a ton of flankers of Acqua de Joe, and it's not surprising because, again, it is the #1 selling men's fragrance in the world. So, of course, they're going to play on it as much as possible. So, getting back to this. There was a lot of hype around this. A lot of people were wondering what this was going to smell like. Some people thought maybe it'd just be a stronger version of the the Pour Homme, the Eau de Toilette. Others were thinking maybe it would smell like Acqua de Joe Senza, which those of you who aren't familiar with it, Senza is discontinued. It was apparently not so well received. It's big in Fragcom, but as far as the general population, it didn't sell too well and it got discontinued. But it was in a clear bottle like this, so a lot of people thought maybe this would smell like a Senza. Senza is known for having this kind of, some people think it smells like blood, and I think what that is it kind of has this like mineral kind of vibe to it. I think that's probably why it wasn't so well received. Funny enough, Profondo, which is a very popular, it's one of the newer releases. Like I said, they do have Profondo Lights. This isn't new by any means, but it is a newer release as far as in the line. It has mineral notes listed. This is kind of their blue take, Armani's blue take on Acqua de Joe. So it's to me, it reminds me of it's slightly green. It's got the Acqua de Joe DNA. It's almost like a deeper version of the original, but it does have that kind of just blue DNA. It smells good, don't get me wrong. I think because of that, I'm not a huge fan of, I know a lot of people love Bleu de Chanel. I think Bleu de Chanel smells good. Dylan Blue, the blue fragrances, but I'm not huge on them. And this isn't my favorite. I will say Profondo Lights, which I do also have, I find a lot more interesting than this. Mainly because it smells like there's more going on. It smells more actually marine and less just kind of like that generic blue. It's got this kind of deeper, greener take on it. I really do. It reminds me of almost like the deep sea or something like that. Like it would smell out if you're out on the ocean. Whereas I know this kind of how these are all marketed. This doesn't really smell like the ocean. It smells like synthetic, just crisp aquatic smell. But this, the Profondo Lights really has this kind of deeper, almost more natural smelling green sea kind of vibe. Again, if you were out kind of like on a ship or something like that. So where does this place and what does this smell like? Well, a lot of people were saying that you know, in the reviews that I had heard, that it was a hybrid pretty much of these two, okay? And I see kind of where they come from, because if you look at the notes on Profondo, I'm going to go over them real quick. There is a mineral note that is not listed in the original. It just says mineral notes in the base, and that same mineral notes is listed in the Eau de Parfum. So, you know, aside from that, there's other overlap, you know, between them, which kind of you see through all of them. Now, lavender is also present in Profondo and the Eau de Parfum, but it is not present in the Pour Homme. If you look at the notes of the Pour Homme, and I don't know if the extent of the notes listed in Fragranza Acqua are indicative of what's actually in all of these, but the original almost looks like a Roja perfume. It's loaded with notes. I mean, the top has got lime, lemon, bergamot, jasmine, orange, mandarin orange, and neroli. Middle, C notes, jasmine, cologne, peach, freesia. I mean, there's like rosemary, violet, coriander, nutmeg, rose, magnolia. There's like a million different florals in the base too. There's white musk, cedar, oak moss, patchouli, amber. There's a ton going on. Now, if you go to something like the Profondo, it's a lot more simpler in the note profile. You have the same kind of citrus and C notes. C notes, Aquazone, which is a newer synthetic aquatic kind of scent profile. Bergamot and green mandarin. Those are note, but you still got those citruses. But you have a lot less florals. The mid is literally just lavender, cypress, and rosemary. And then the base, you get the mineral notes, which again, like I said, overlaps with the Eau de Parfum, the musk, patchouli, and amber. So it is a lot more simplistic. And you will notice too, when you go into the Eau de Parfum, it's the C notes, green mandarin in opening, okay? So there is that overlap. If you compare it with the Profondo, the Aquazone's not in there, and the bergamot goes away. Okay, so you just have the C notes and the green mandarin. And then the mid, you clary sage, lavender, and geranium. Geranium is, interestingly enough, I mean, it's in a lot of fragrances, but it's in things like a Leighton, which is kind of interesting. You know, again, there's the lavender and the clary sage. Clary sage is in things like YSL, Eau de Parfum. And a lot of people were wondering kind of how that would impact it. Anyway, the dried out, or the base, is mineral notes, vetiver, and patchouli. So that is the same. A lot of overlap with Profumo, but the vetiver and some of these other notes, like sage, clary sage, are coming from Essenza, or in Essenza. So so basically what I'm saying is, it's like they took the original, parts of the original, parts of Profondo, and parts of Essenza, and that's how they came up with the new Eau de Parfum. And to be honest with you, that's what it smells like. You spray this, and it smells great, don't get me wrong. Immediately, you're going to be reminded of the original, but there's this super bright, that green mandarin. Oh man, and it's effervescent. It's almost like it's like fizzy, kind of like it's sparkling. It's really coming off the skin. And that in the air is going to remind you of Essenza to an extent. The mineral notes are there. Again, it's going to remind you of that. You're going to get the Profondo kind of vibe. It certainly has a more realistic sea smell than the original. With, though, again, better than the clary sage that you're getting from the Essenza. So it's like they took elements of all of them from the line and came up with this. And man, does it smell good. Like I said, this really is a modern day version of the Pour Homme, the original. And it, instead of just kind of becoming this, to me, generic blue fragrance like Profondo is, in my opinion, or really darkening it up with something like Profumo, which I love Profumo, but it really kind of takes a kind of drastic change from the DNA with the addition of the incense. With this, that are, you know, again, the absolute, making it kind of like cloyingly sweet, Invictus bubblegum style. What this did is it stuck with the original, super fresh, super mass appealing, super just vibrant, sea, aquatic, you know, sexy fragrance. And it just modernized it. Again, they took elements of the Profondo, they took away some of that generic kind of this blue scent profile. They stuck with the you know, some of the original, but they made it more realistic. It doesn't smell as synthetic. It still has some synthetic vibes, but it smells more natural. It smells more like the actual seed. Again, it's effervescent. That mandarin really pops off the skin. It smells almost kind of like fizzy or sparkling. It smells great in the heat. Now, my main issue with this, and a lot of kind of what a lot of people are really wondering, the performance isn't great on this from what I've worn. I've worn this now 4 or 5 times since I've gotten it. I've gotten it just like last week, I think. I've been wearing it a lot because I like it. But I get maybe 6 hours. Now, the issue is it sits very close to the skin after about the first 2. And I don't go crazy on the sprays, but I do, you know, I put about 6 on. It still performs better than this, but it's not a Profumo. It's not even a Profundo. Performance on Profundo and Profumo, in my opinion, are way better. Absolute's not great. The original's not great, but Profundo performs pretty well. I get about 7 hours out of this. Profumo lasts me pretty much all day. So it does not perform as well. Now, this is brand new, literally brand new, meaning this was just dropped. I don't know how long they let it macerate. I don't know how long they let it sit before they ship it out. It could have sat for a while. Could already be. I don't know. I know you generally, technically, depending on who you're talking to, you need to let air in there for it to happen anyway. What I'm saying is, I don't know if as this kind of sits longer, even if you bought a new one, say months down the road from now, if it would perform better or if this will develop and perform better. That said, I don't care. I love this. I love this. This is my favorite from the line as of now. Well, I would put this up with Profumo, okay? But they're too different. If I'm trying to stick to the original sort of DNA, this is my favorite. Profumo is amazing, but it is its kind of own thing. Like I said, I think it takes a pretty drastic departure, but it is an amazing fragrance. So anyway, that is my take on this. This is a sparkly, bright, super citrus, super fresh, more realistic take on the original that adds in some of that nice marineness, that mineralness from Profundo, while still having some of that what made it Senza, you know, with that clary sage and just, you know, it's got geranium in it. It really, in that lavender, and getting rid of some of the florals of the original, some of the synthetic C notes that were originally in the original, and just kind of making it again smell more realistic. This is damn good. So I would give this a 9 out of 10, just because the performance isn't great. But you know, full disclosure, I love the line. I love Armani. So if you're not a huge fan of the original, if you're not as big of a fan of the line as I am, you might not really enjoy this as much as I do. But I think this blows Profundo out of the water. I think this is way better than Absolute. I think this is way better than, you know, the majority of the line. Certainly way more wearable than the original. Again, I think the only thing, in my opinion, that gives this kind of a potentially a run for its money would be Profumo. But Profumo takes such a drastic turn that I don't think it's very comparable. I think they're kind of their own fragrances, in my opinion. So I'm going to wear both, continue to wear both. I think Profumo is great in the colder months. This is killer in the summer. And I am excited to see how this does in the high heat. Anyway, smells amazing. Again, you get that, especially in the opening, you get that nice effervescent mandarin just pops out with those C notes, and it just smells like so refreshing, sparkling, just crisp. And as it dries down, you still get that kind of, that nice crispness. It's going to remind you of a Senza. And it takes away, like I said, some of that kind of just boring, generic Profundo. But it still has some of that green and depth that you're getting from the Profundo. This is good. This is damn good. It's like I said, it's kind of like they took elements of all of them, well, those three, and it came up with this. And man, they did a really good job on this one. So I do recommend sampling this at least. Anyway, I know this video is getting long. I am going to do a house review or a line review. I'm going to do Acqua di Gio line review, comparison, ranking. If it's not clear now, probably kind of know how it's going to go. But I do want to do a comparison and a ranking directly. I have, like I said, I have, you know, the original. I have Profundo, Profundo Lights, Absolute, Profumo. This, I don't have Absolute Instinct, and I don't have Essenza currently, but I do have a sample, so I'll do a review of all those. Anyway, hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, if you like the original, if you're a big fan of the original especially, you're going to love this, okay? But if you're one of those people who you need 24-hour performance, you need 12-hour performance, 10-hour performance, this ain't it. At least not yet. Like I said, that might change, but for me, the scent profile is worth it. I don't care. It smells amazing. I'll gladly reapply it. It's not some slouch that's gone in an hour or two, but it's just not. It's not beast. And if you get into some of the reviews, some people say it lasts all day. Other people say 30 seconds later it's gone. And that's the problem. And anybody who's familiar with any of these fragrances, especially something like Mont Blanc Explorer, that's what you get. People are like, it lasts me 12 hours. Other people say it's gone in 30 seconds. So you got to really try it for yourself, see how it works on your skin, see how it works for you. But it is an eau de parfum concentration. Now, we all know that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to last longer than an eau de toilette. It's all the scent profile. But this certainly lasts longer on my skin than the original. So anyway, hope this helped. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments section. But man, this is a modern version of the original. It takes elements of Profundo, the original, and Essenza, and does it well. So it's about as fresh as it gets. It smells absolutely stunning.